What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC Tampa. We have Joaquin Buckley going against Colby Covington. And yeah, last fight card of the year. And it's a fight card that I'm certainly looking forward to as a fan, as a bettor. There are some things certainly sticking out. Coming off of a monster week last week at UFC 310, hoping to carry some of that momentum from last week into this week. And hopefully, end the year strong here. So before we get into it, if you guys could like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. All three of those things go a long way. Thank you all so much for all the support throughout the year, and looking forward to another year of content in 2025. Still going strong. It's going to be my 7th year next year. So I'm going to make this very quick as possible. I'm flying out to Tampa very shortly, and I don't want to miss my flight. So I'm going to try to get this done in hopefully like 12 minutes or less. So if I go a little quick, I don't want to miss my flight, so because that would be bad. All right, so we'll kick it off here. Josephine Knutsson going against Pierre Rodriguez. Short and sweet. It's Knutsson for me. It's Knutsson by decision. Not betting on this fight. The decision prop is getting just hammered throughout the week, which rightfully so. I don't think she's finishing anybody ever. But yeah, if you're playing this fight, I think it's probably Knutsson by decision. But the decision line just wasn't enticing enough for me. So going to be passing on the first fight of the card. Also going to be passing on this second fight. I think this fight, it's a phenomenal fight. I think it's a great fight from a fan perspective, but there are some red flags really on both sides. Davey Grant, 38 years old at this point, year and a half layoff, coming off of a neck surgery. We've seen when these guys come off of these neck surgeries, they look just awful, to be honest. So will Davey Grant kind of buck that trend? We'll have to see. But I just in the past, these guys come off these back surgeries, it just hasn't fared very well for him. With that said, though, Tavares, he is very chinny in my opinion. He's been knocked out twice in his career. Both of his losses do come by knockout, so maybe we could see Davey Grant go out there and get a finish. But yeah, nothing really sticking out here. I looked at maybe the fight ends by knockout, but Davey Grant's never been knocked out, so I'm just going to be passing on the second fight of the card. Next, we have Maverick going against Jamie Lynn Horth. And yeah, not a ton sticking out here. Really, the only way you can play this, in my opinion, is Maverick in these finish props, which I don't think are, super likely, but I do think they're on the table. I mean, this, Maverick's minus 600 here. She's young, she's improving, she's taking this very, very seriously at this point. She's had some things going on outside the UFC in the past, and now I think she's taken her career very, very seriously. And Jamie Lynn Horth, she's 34 at this point, and I just haven't really been impressed. So for me, you can't lay minus 275 on a decision prop. I don't think I've ever seen a decision prop at minus 275. That's ridiculous. So what I did was I sprinkled a half unit on Maverick by submission plus 600. That's the only line that I saw that had value here. And if you are minus 600, and if you are getting your way, if you're Maverick, you're getting this fight down to the mat. She is a black belt in BJJ. She's going to probably get into dominant positions, and I think she's going to attempt some subs here. And you should be finishing somebody like Jamie Lynn Horth if you're Maverick, right? Like, you fought Blanchfield, you fought Barber, you fought some very good competition throughout the UFC. You should be finishing someone like Jamie Lynn Horth. So I'll take Maverick by submission. It's a big number, plus 600 for a half a unit. Next, we have Lima going against Miles Johns. Nothing really sticking out here, guys. I think this line's off, but at the same time, I don't really want to step in Felipe Lima. And at the same time as well, I typically look to fade Miles Johns. Like, I'm always betting on Miles Johns, and I always lose those bets because this guy always wins. So I'm just going to stay away here. I think Lima minus 240 is kind of silly. I think he's good, but I think he's getting a little bit overrated after Naimov quit in the third round. But yeah, he's a good fighter. I think this fight will be close. Maybe Lima can potentially finish Johns. He's been finished in both of his losses. Maybe Johns can win a close decision. But yeah, nothing really sticking out here. It's a dog or pass, but I don't want to lay money on this fight, to be honest. I do want to lay money on the next couple fights, though. We got Sean Woodson, Fernando Padilla. 2 bets here. I think one of the best bets of the week, and maybe it pushes, maybe it hits. It's Fernando Padilla, the finish only. The scorecards equals no action, which has been completely wrecked and smashed on books throughout the week. But yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I have Fernando Padilla, finish only, 1.5 units, minus 127. Probably should have went heavier. But yeah, I think if there's a finish in this fight, it's much, much more likely it's going to be Fernando Padilla. And I also got a little more aggressive, and I played Fernando Padilla inside the distance at plus 380 for 1 unit. I think that line's off. I mean, this guy's plus 135 on the money line. If this fight goes the distance, Sean Woodson's 8-0 in decisions. I think if Padilla's winning this fight, he's hurting Woodson. he's getting him out of there. Woodson, anytime he's fought somebody that can match his height, his length, he's looked rough. Almost got finished, borderline did get finished against Luis Saldana, right? And then also got finished by Julian Erosa. Both tall, lengthy guys like Padilla. Padilla's a brown belt, very slick grappler. Padilla has a ton of power. I like Padilla here quite a bit. If you like Woodson, you play him by decision, but I like the Padilla finish only and the Padilla into the distance. I have 2.5 units total on Fernando Padilla this week in some sort of fashion. Next, we got Joe Alvarez going against Drakkar Klose. I have 2.5 units on Drakkar Klose to win inside the distance at -120. Line doesn't really make a ton of sense considering Joe Alvarez has 21 wins, 21 finishes. He's -425, which is over an 80% implied probability to win. Why is the inside the distance almost a pick 'em? I don't quite get that. I'm worried about Drakkar Klose. Drakkar Klose has taken a ton of damage. Obviously, he had that push situation against Jeremy Stephens that I think, quite frankly, destroyed his career. Hasn't looked amazing since then. Has shown some decline for sure. I mean, that last fight against Joaquim Silva was not the best look at all. I think if Joe Alvarez gets Drakkar Klose into those same spots that Silva did, I think he will be finishing the fight. And yeah, I think Alvarez can hurt Klose on the feet. I think Klose's chin is diminished, and I think Alvarez obviously can sub him as well. So I'm not messing around with the KO or sub. Just give me the inside the distance, 2.5 units -120. And it's still around there as well. Next, we got Michael Johnson, Ottman Azaitar. This fight is it's a Michael Johnson fight, and you don't want to be too heavily invested. If Michael Johnson showed any finishing ability whatsoever against Darius Flowers, I'd be just smashing the fight doesn't go. But he somehow, some way took Darius Flowers to decision, which should be a criminal offense. I mean, Michael Johnson should have been arrested, should have went to trial for taking Darius Flowers to a 15-minute decision. How on God's green earth does that happen, Michael Johnson? So for that reason, I can't play these unders. If you can't finish Darius Flowers, are you going to be able to finish Ottman Azaitar? Maybe, but I can't count on it. I can't lay money on it. What I did here was I'm playing the Ottman Azaitar KO1 plus 800 for a half a unit. That's his money line. That's the only way he's ever going to win a fight. It's a big number. Michael Johnson, there's no way he should lose this fight. There's no way Michael Johnson should lose that fight. So he's probably going to lose, right? I mean, Michael Johnson just finds a way to lose. So I'm having a half a unit on Ottman Azaitar, KO1, plus 800. And that's too much money on this fight. This fight is one of the sketchiest fights on the card, and that's because it is a Michael Johnson fight, and all his fights are very sketchy. So that's really all I'm going with. Azaitar KO1, I wouldn't touch the under. I mean, Michael Johnson not finishing Darius Flowers, I'm not sure. So, yeah, that fight, I don't know. Next, we got Navajo Sterling going against Tokkos. Yeah, I like Sterling. I like Sterling by KO. I did get a little bit aggressive and played the Sterling KO 2-3, 0.75 units on Sterling KO 2 at plus 440, and then a half a unit on Sterling KO 3 at plus 650. He's kind of a guy that's going to take his time, and yeah, he could knock out Tokkos in the first round. Tokkos is a walking punching bag, begging to be knocked out. I think he's chinny as well, but I'm hoping Sterling kind of takes his time, picks him apart a little bit, drags his fight to the second round, and then finds that finish. So I think it's going to be a slow, methodical, kind of a paced set fight, and then I think eventually he does find the chin of Tokkos, hoping round 2, round 3. Daniel Marcos, Adrian Yanez, it's a pass for me. I like Marcos, but not at -225. The value is probably on Yanez. Should be a fun fight, a firefight. I think Marcos has more tools on the feet, though, better durability. I slightly lean him, but -225 has gotten out of hand. I liked it a lot better. Really, even like -170, but even that, I was like, So, yeah, it's Marcos, but no bet. Vitor Petrino, Dustin Jacoby. I like Petrino. Petrino by decision, 0.75 units at plus 360. Jacoby, I do think he's chinny, but he's very hard to get out of there. This guy can be dropped, but you have to kill him to get him out of there. He's only been knocked out like once or twice in his entire career, and this guy has a million fights. And I also think that Petrino's going to go out there and wrestle. He's going to grapple. He's going to burn some time off the clock. So I think Petrino's going to use that size, that physicality, that youth to kind of grind out a decision. I think it's going to be a grinding-based decision. Petrino's got a takedown in each and every single one of his UFC fights. So, yes, the durability of Jacoby, it is concerning. Maybe Petrino does knock him out, but Petrino hasn't really knocked out many people in the UFC. I mean, Modestas Bukauskas, but that's it. So, I like Petrino. I like Petrino by decision. I like these overs. I like the fight goes, but I'm on the Petrino decision, 0.75 units at plus 360. Next, we got Manel Kape, Bruno Silva. Manel Kape is just as trustworthy, if not worse, than Michael Johnson. laying minus 365 on Manel Kape's disgusting. I got to pick him to win, but geez, a lot could go wrong here. Like Manel Kape, sometimes he shows up, sometimes he doesn't. I don't want to find out. Laying minus 165, no thank you. Billy Quarantillo, Cub Swanson. So, interesting fight here. Initially, I was leaning like the fight doesn't go at minus 115, and when I'm kind of thinking about this fight, I'm like, okay, how does this fight finish? Is Cub Swanson going to knock out Billy Q? Maybe. And is Billy Q going to be able to knock out Cub Swanson? Maybe. But I think the most likely scenario, like if this fight finishes, I kind of see it being a submission. I kind of see it being a submission win for Billy Quarantillo. Cub Swanson's been submitted 7 times. We've seen him submitted by, Max Holloway back in the day, Frankie Edgar, Oliveira, Ortega, so on and so. Like, this guy's been submitted so many times. Billy Quarantillo is a black belt in BJJ, and you got to think, like, the path to victory, the game plan is going to be getting this fight down to the ground, mixing in those takedowns, and if he can set a pace, I think it can tap out a tired 41, 42-year-old Cub Swanson here in round 2, round 3. So, and I like the 2-3 in general. The problem is they're all over it. It's a Billy Q fight. He always wins 2-3 for the most part, so they're not great, but I like that 2-3 sub. Quarter unit round 2 plus 2,200, and then quarter unit round 3 plus 3,000 for Quarantillo, sub 2-3. Taking a small shot on those. I think if the fight does finish, that's how it happens. Billy Q gets on top of a tired Swanson and chokes him out. Next, we got Joaquin Buckley going against Colby Covington. Yeah, I think this line's a complete joke. So I'm very high on Covington here. With that said, though, there is a play I do like, and it is the Colby Covington plus 5.5 points handicap. Plus 110, 3 units, my biggest bet of the card. And yeah, I think if this doesn't hit it, it's because, Colby gets knocked out. But Colby doesn't really get knocked out. He's been knocked out once against Usman. It wasn't the best stoppage. And I see this fight being close. I see this fight going the distance. I see this fight being close. I think Colby might start a little slow early on. I think it might take some time to get going into the fight like he did in the Edwards fight, right? But I don't need him to win the fight. I need him to win 2 rounds. And I think at the very least, those 2 rounds will come in round 4 and round 5. But yeah, I can see Colby definitely having some success in the early rounds as well if he's able to get the wrestling going. So yeah, Joaquin Buckley lost the 3rd round to Abdulrazak Al-Hassan, got ragdolled by Abdulrazak Al-Hassan. I think Colby can kind of do the same thing here as this fight goes on. So plus 5.5 point spread, which means I need to win 6 total rounds from Colby Covington between these crooked judges, which means if Colby loses 48-47 on all 3 scorecards, I still hit that plus 5.5 point spread. So just need Colby to don't get knocked out. Don't get knocked out. I hit this bet, and I'm happy. So, but yeah, I think Colby is live though. But I did like that plus 5.5 at plus money, just a little bit better than the money line, because I could see like some shenanigans with these trash judges, and I could see Covington starting slow as well. Those are my 2 worries: the judges and Colby starting slow. So plus 5.5 point spread. All right, gonna quickly recap here. I have about a minute. Covington plus 5.5 point spread, 3 units plus 110. Quarantillo sub 2-3 quarter unit on each. 2,200 round 2, 3,000 round 3. Petrino decision 0.75 units plus 360. Sterling KO 2 0.75 units plus 440. Sterling round 3 half a unit plus 650. Azaitar half a unit plus 800. KO 1. 1-800 Gambler Fight of the Week. Joel Alvarez, inside the distance, minus 120, 2.5 units. Padilla finish only, minus 127, 1.5 units. Padilla inside the distance, 1 unit, plus 380. And then Maverick by submission, plus 600 for a half a unit. That is all I got for you guys. Best of luck for UFC Tampa. Let me know down in the comments what you guys have for this week. And best of luck. Enjoy your fights. And we'll talk to you soon. See you later.